Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. I'm Phil Carroll, and today we're joined by Colin Bird, Executive Chairman of Galileo Resources. Welcome back so soon, Colin. It seems like it's only, about 3 days since you were last on? Amazing, really.
Yeah, not long, but nice to be back so soon.
Yeah. So obviously we saw that it's in the news today, very exciting. And obviously we alluded to this last week, the Glenover asset sale and second option to sell shares in Glenover. So do you want to just talk us through how significant this news is?
Yeah, well, as always, life's never predictable. We were fairly optimistic, but you can be as optimistic as you like. But until you get that notification, you're optimistic and living in hope. And so receipt of the notification was really very good news for the company and, of course, its shareholders. There is a condition precedent, of course, transfer of section, when you transfer mining properties, you require a Section 11, and that's the only condition precedent. Everything else is intact, mining licenses, etc. So now there's a Section 11 to be effective. It's 5.2 million, gents, and that's a sizable amount of money, 5.2 million pounds. And of course, I don't think it's any secret that we have an enviable portfolio with lithium, copper, nickel, and gold. And so enviable portfolios, as enviable as they are, require money. And that's something which isn't around at the moment, certainly for junior explorers and developers for that matter. But, I've been in this position a couple of times, and this is when you really jealously guard your treasury. Just because you feel you're rip flushed, you don't go overboard. And that's the way that this money will be spent. There'll be a lot of change out what we intend to do, but nonetheless, it will allow us to do what we want to do aggressively, timelessly, and the further development, if you like, the further advancement, the further progression for Galileo won't be the death of the thousand lashes. We will be able to work concurrently on projects, not picking the best project, getting hopefully the results we want, and then go into the market for more money. We will actually be able to concurrently work on our projects and hopefully advance them all concurrently to build quite a very strong company with a diverse portfolio in the right place in the middle of 2023.
I mean, I think you just summed it up there. You received payment of just over 5 million, market cap of 18 million. A massive suite of portfolio is looking good. The Zambian assets. So obviously we went through them very recently, so they're fresh in my mind. Zambia, Zimbabwe, the Botswana assets, which are Kalahari Copper Belt, is very much a hot topic at the moment. So it must feel like you can really utilize this not only working capital but this funding to then really push and flourish on those extra drilling at these projects to further kind of enhance the value of these.
You've summed it up. And we keep harping back to Kalahari. The more we see of the Kalahari, what we've done with and our own license and what the Samphire licenses are, the proximity to Cobre, the fact that they're far enough away to form their own lives. I don't know. We're feeling extremely positive about certain of our licenses in the Kalahari, and of course the Samphire licenses as well. So we're doing a revisitation. Things have changed, understanding's changed, mineralization drivers are quite a bit different to what was thought. So it allows us to get back in there as well and give us its best program. So they're all running and they're all batting and they're all very positive, Phil. So good place to be with about half of your market cap in the bank in pure cash, and a suite of assets, any one to make up the difference between current market cap and cash. Anyone could justify it, let alone all of them coming home.
So, Colin, you've got £8 million in cash. how exponentially more do you think you can increase the value of the four main assets that you have within Galileo using that money sensibly?
Well, let's just step off it all. A discovery in the Kalahari, what would that represent already? In the Sandfire deal, we've got an 80 million deferred consideration if we hit the right amount of copper. So there's a deferred consideration which is contractually identified. So there you are. If you just took that one alone and said that's 70 million pound, I mean, 5/8, that's a four banger. If you look at the lithium, which is we've got 700 samples taken, the world is alive with alight with the search for lithium. Only today I've had a couple of phone calls today. So the world is alight with the lithium demand. Gold's never been out of favor, never will. It's at its moments in both directions. But when you're talking about a 12-kilometer trend, which is an extension to mines which have been working 20 years, near surface, 3 or 4 grams for 12 kilometers, that would set the world alight. And underneath there was the nickel, and everybody wants nickel, sulfide nickel, because there isn't any. So again, a 15-kilometer discovery is a real win because it's close proximity to the Shingwani project, and let's face it, Zimbabwe is changing rapidly in its reception for foreign companies. Glenover, we all know about. Glenover is ready in terms of the open pit, and the deepest hole goes down to 1,250. So I'm actually, going through these projects, not answering your question because I don't want to make that sort of forecast, but I think any one of them is a company, is a company in its own rights. Any one of them is a company in its own rights. You're talking cash flow as well. Remember, Kevin, Glenover, we're going all out to make get Glenover into production. So we want to perpetuate this this situation where we're self-funding. If the company can achieve it, that's what we'll be achieving. Because it's nice whilst we're doing all that we have to do to bring a mine into operation, which can generate significant cash flow for 8 years. It doesn't need every train to arrive, Kevin. I think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it'd be quite nice if they all did. But they might, good Lord, yeah. But they might not all, as you say. Okay, so this is obviously a fairly short podcast, but we wanted to give you the platform. Obviously, just give us a bit of a lowdown on what you feel has happened with the Basant Keras thing.
Oh well, there you are. Different people have got different views, and quite frankly, we were. I don't like using. We were very surprised. With the outcome of this joint venture, and somewhat disappointed. But as you just said, that as Kenny Rogers said, there's a time to walk and there's a time to run. So this was not a meeting of minds. This joint venture, we didn't have the clarity that we sought, and so we mutually agreed to terminate.
I was thinking more of Islands in the Stream there by. Islands in the Stream.
Dolly Parton. And
that is what we are. No one in between. It wasn't one of those love songs anyway, so the story didn't continue, and maybe Basant's better off and maybe Keras is better off. So I thought
it was Kenny Rogers just popped in to see what condition my condition was in or something like that you were going to, but
yeah, but the real reality here is this is business, this is commerce. And joint venture is a very specific definition. And if you're not joint, you shouldn't venture. So I guess that sometimes it's win-win, to part company.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's obviously it's a very good deal, and the cash coming in. But from what you've been used to in the past, the asset sales you've been involved with, it must seem quite small frying relatively, this one.
Well, we have done some big ones, and of course the biggest one of lot was the Kalambila. But you've got to look at the return on investment and the time you spent on it. And in terms of return on investment, it represents a good return for our shareholders. I have to compliment.
I mean, this is a foundation company, from what I remember. This with Galileo.
You've got it. It was founded under Glenover. I guess in those days more for the rare earth. Rare earth that was in 2011 was even more than what rare earth talk is now. You've got Senate committees who were basically put together to identify new sources of rare earths in the West because it was so frightened of Chinese domination. And I think in around about 2012, 2013, it was realized that this was a myth. The market was about 175,000 tons. And this embargo they talked about in China, it wasn't available anyway. And these operations were competing for space in the Chinese traded allocation were in actual fact mom and pop operations, which were dangerous in their own rights. So it was all one myth which exploded, but it's about to come back. I think the West will recognize that Chinese dependency is not that smart.
Rare earth things that are going to be required in the future.
I think it'll be the flavor of the month again in probably a year or so's time. And after what we're witnessing now, China and the reluctance of China to intervene and stop this, because I think they're quite capable of doing it, to put their might, not their might and force in military terms, but in terms of diplomatic terms. I think they could do a lot to stop, to basically put this to bed and stop it all, and they're not going to. So I think it just reinforces the fact that the West needs its own rare earths, because the military uses of rare earths and requirement is quite tremendous.
Well, on that note, Colin, we'll wrap it up and say, Colin Bird, Executive Chairman of Galileo Resources, thanks very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Well done in getting the deal over the line, Colin. I know the deal was done before, but you had to wait for the cash, so well done.
Well, we'll have to wait for the cash, remember, the Section 11. So, but the deal, the option is exercised, and that's what counts.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Yes.
Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.